Hi, this is Trev and welcome to my blog. There is undoubtedly one easiest way of creating a double curvature in a panel, and I would have said that's using an English wheel. When I say double curvature, of course, what I mean is the panel curves both ways. So when you look at it in one direction, it's curving that way, and you turn it round by 90 degrees and it's curving the other way. And whatever way you look at it from, it's still curving. That's what I mean by a double curvature panel. Because of course it's easy just to bend a piece of steel around something curved, like a tube, and putting a double curvature in it, of course, is a completely different scenario. So when you're using an English wheel, there's just a few basic principles like the tension on the anvils, how much pressure it's exerting on the material, how much pressure you're putting on the workpiece, and you know, the sweep that you put across it, the tracking and everything else. These are the kinds of things you've got to learn when you use an English wheel. And of course you can make a panel up and then offer it up against a buck or an existing car just to check for its fitment. So I work part-time at the restoration shop. I really love it because you don't know what you're going to be walking into from one week to the next. You may walk into having to work on a new Ferrari, a classic Ferrari, a bronze Hippo, and maybe even a model Bugatti. And that's why I really love working there. So I got a little bit of news about them. They're just starting up their own channel. It's going to be run by Rory, who you see in my video intro. So Rory's going to be putting them together. Don't quite know exactly what they're going to be doing, but might be worth checking out. I'll stick a link in the video description to Race and Restoration so you can go and check out their channel as well. So back to this video. I'm going to show you how to create a double curvature panel using very, very simple tools. So before I get started, I'm going to immediately go off on a tangent, as I always do, and tell you about my stump shrinker stroke stand. Now, why I've sort of created this is I wanted something that was going to be portable, i.e. didn't weigh like 100 kilos and was stuck in the corner in the way and you couldn't move it. And it's something that obviously you're not going to want to use it every single day of the week. So this is hardwood, this is off a fruit tree, it's dog-legged, so the two sections, it's made out of two sections, it's dog-legged slightly so that I can stand close to it. I put my knee in it and I can still get nice and close, because there's nothing worse than trying to use something to hammer something out. I find this with anvils as well. You can't quite get where you want to get and you're often kind of leaning over, putting that unwanted pressure on your back. And it's in two halves, so I can easily just pick it up and put it away in a shed. I could also put different profiles on each end if I wanted to, but I probably won't need to do that, to be quite honest with you. Just needs a bit more work to get everything flat so it sits and doesn't rock, because it rocks slightly at the moment, but it's not far out. So this is why I've got this. And like I say, it's not massive. I know people have much larger diameters, but I don't really feel like I personally need that. And I like to be able to use the workshop space for several different things. If I can make all the kit portable and movable, then I can use the same area for 2 or 3 different jobs. So I'm going to use this as a stand today. So this is going to be my stand. I can hammer on this and it isn't going to go anywhere, and I'm not going to destroy my bench or anything like that. So that's what that's all about. So I've just knocked up this dolly holder. This is an old piece of scrap that was being thrown away from a company I used to work for ages ago. I'm not entirely sure what it was. It may have been a jig bracket or something, but it's nice and meaty, nice and heavy. And what I've done is I've welded a little frame to the top. And what this does is this nicely holds a tow dolly. So here's my tow dolly collection. They're all very slightly different from each other. Well, in fact, this one's quite different because this is just a little skinny one. Excellent, this bit of kit for getting in restricted places, because often when you're reaching up inside a door to hammer something out, I often find that I can't get my hand and the dolly between the space between the skin and the frame, and this is why I bought this, and I've never regretted it. It's probably one of my most used pieces of equipment for awkward spaces. And I've got a Sykes one, and I got a, I don't know what brand that is, I said just a cheapo one, but it's got a slightly different radius to the other one. It's slightly deeper, this one. So what I've done is I've created my stand, my dolly holder, and the dollies just literally sit on the top. This piece that I've welded on, what that does is that stops the dolly from walking off the end, because I've used pieces of I-beam. I often use that at work, bit of RSJ, balance the dolly on the top, tap, 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 tap. 15 taps later, of course, the dolly just walks off the end and you lose it. So that's why I've welded this frame in, so that I can hold the dollies in there and they're not going to go anywhere. Also, there's lots of nice weight to all this. As I said, it's hardwood, quite heavy. This is nice and heavy. The dolly's very heavy. So as you're, you know, going about hitting it, it's not going to dance around and fall on the floor. Well, that's the plan anyway. Just one last thing I would say about this, if you're going to have a go at this yourself, what I would do is use a lot thinner material. You know, I make the mistakes, guys, first, and then you do it properly afterwards. So what I would have used really here is something sort of no thicker than about 3mm. I reckon 3 or 4mm would be ample, and this is 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to file this down a little bit more yet. And the reason I'm going to do that is because, of course, when you put the dolly in there and you've got the metal, the more curved the metal is, the more chance that this framework is going to get in the way. So I may actually hack this corner off completely and file these right down so that they're, you know, they're not going to get in the way of the metal, if you see what I'm saying. The other thing, of course, you can buy is anvil stakes that you can just put in a vise and use that, and they are the perfect sort of solution to this issue, as you know, to what I'm doing at the moment, trying to show you. But this is a way of utilizing a tool for two different applications, because like I said, this is detachable. You can stow this away, you can put this back in your toolbox. I mean, I work obviously part-time in a restoration place, so I use my tools at home and at work. So of course I put this in the tool bag and off I go, and then I can come back if I want to do a bit of metal shaping. I can then just slip it in there and use it, and it's instantly another tool that I haven't got to buy and I haven't got to store either. So yeah, it's very, very useful, and that's why I've done this. So let's talk briefly about slappers. No, gentlemen of the UK, not that kind of slapper. We're talking metalworking now. So this is a smooth one, and this is the one with teeth. Now I'm going to go off on another quick tangent because people keep asking me this question over and over again, and to be quite honest with you, I can only give you my experiential knowledge. This hasn't came out of a book. I haven't heard somebody else say this. This is purely my own experience, so this is going to differ from other people's experience, so I don't want to get into any arguments over this. I may be right, I may be wrong, but I repair stuff and I'm happy with the results, and I'll tell you about using shrinking hammers and bumping files with shrinking surfaces on briefly. So here we go, one of Trev's famous drawings. So we got the dolly. So we'll say that's the toe dolly. We've got the panel with a dent in it. I know it's rather exaggerated, but I'm just trying to get a point across here. So you've got a panel, you've got your dolly, and you've got your slapper. And let's just say I'm going to repair this dent. So what I would do automatically is I pick up the toothed one, because what has happened is when it's dented, it's stretched. So the distance from there to there, where it would have been originally, is less than it is from there to there. So if I simply got a hammer and hammered this out from behind, so I just hammered this out, what we're going to end up with is we're going to end up with a high spot sticking out like that. Okay? Anyone that's done any panel work will know exactly what I'm talking about. You put a hammer behind the dent, you push it out, and then you get this big high spot. And this is really tying up something quite nicely for me, because I've been inundated with people asking me about the metal finishing video, because that's got quite popular really over the last year, and a lot of people criticised it, a lot of people said it's really good, So let's tie up the criticisms. When you're using a file, you're not using the file to file down the high spots. What you're doing is you're using the file to score the metal to highlight the low spots. You're not using it to file down anything. I can't say that enough times. People keep saying, well, you're just going to remove too much material. Well, you're not, because you're not going to use it to that excess. You're literally just going to put it over the surface of the metal to highlight where the low spots are. When I made that video, the file blade wasn't the best on there, and I probably used it a little bit more than I needed to. If that had been a brand new file blade, it would have scored it up a lot quicker. And that's what the files are used for. And I'm not talking about the spoon, I'm talking about the file that's used after the spoon to highlight the low spots. The other thing that people say is, why don't you just hit it out from behind? Well, this is what I'm coming to, because if you hit it out from behind, what you do is you end up with a big high spot. Again, I didn't probably explain it well enough in the video, but I was trying to keep it short and sweet. So, as I said, distance from there to there is shorter from there to there. Now, to my experience, I haven't got this out of a book, like I said, these teeth, when they come into contact with this panel, because it's toothed, sorry, not teethed, these teeth will dig into the metal. And what they'll do is the dolly will come up from underneath, because you're putting pressure on the dolly, so you're putting upwards pressure on the dolly, the spoon's coming down, this has to flatten out some way. Now, the rules are something curved, something flat coming together always creates lift. And it doesn't matter which way round it is, but I'll come back to that later on. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but I appreciate it's going to go on too long. So yeah, you put your dolly underneath, your slapper comes down, and the dolly pushes the dent out. The teeth grip the steel each side, whilst the dolly is putting compression against the dent. Now, if you watched my video I did last week, where I gripped each side of the tucked section and then tapped it out, this is basically what this is doing. This is gripping the metal from there to there, and it's stopping it from stretching. And because you're putting compression on that, it's actually shrinking the steel. Now, to me, this is how these shrinking hammers and dollies and everything else work. This is how they work. You've got something that's already stretched and dented, and then when you take the dent out using this way, then it actually creates shrink. If you use these tools on a flat piece of metal and expect them to shrink, I cannot see how they would work, and I have never ever experienced that kind of philosophy that people sort of talk about sometimes, using shrinking tools to shrink down metal. I just cannot see how a toothed tool just being hit on a flat panel will actually create shrink. But this is, like I say, this is my own personal experience. Somebody somewhere else may have better information for you on this. So let's get round to putting a curve in this piece of metal. Now, like I said, something that's curved, something that's flat, if the two come down together, what they do is they always create stretch, because metal to metal creates stretch in the panel, and it'll always bend in the way that the curve is. So it'll always curve around that curved tool. When you're hitting it with something flat, this could be slightly curved, this could be very curved, it's still going to go in the area that's mostly curved, and it doesn't matter what way round it is. This could be a hammer, this could be the face of a hammer, this could be a flat piece of steel. If I whack this from this direction, say this is a hammer face now with a good crown on it, this is totally flat. If I'm hitting it from that direction, it's going to curve around the hammer. Again, like I say, it's going to curve around the hammer, even though everything's up the other way. But why I use a slapper, or why people use a slapper, is it's nice because you can see what's going on from the top surface, and I'll now give you a demonstration of how to lightly curve a piece of metal without using any more tools than the slapper and a dolly. So a nice flat piece of steel here, just to prove that it's absolutely flat. I'll put a ruler up against it, okay? So it's dead straight, that's arrow straight, that is. Now let's put some curvature in it. So I'm just going to use my regular Sykes dolly and my lovely toothless smacky smooth slapper. Smack smooth slapper. So yeah, that's what I'm going to use, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of bounce it so I'll get into a bit of a rhythm. You'll see what I'm saying when I get doing it. Let's just crack on with it, eh? Show you something practical rather than me just waffling on. I've got some hearing protection on as well, guys, for those safety conscious, because I value my hearing. So I'm just going to put even strokes across this to try and give it some curvature. So I haven't been going for very long at all, just a couple of minutes, and already it's starting to take on a nice gentle curve, nothing too severe. I've been keeping, you know, like equal spacings between the blows, because the more you concentrate it in an area, the more it's going to stretch. So we'll just say that, you know, we just want a gentle sort of curve. Maybe it's a bit of a wing section or something you're trying to repair, and you put a flat panel in, of course, and it's curved, and then you've got this flat section. You may be in a position where you sort of start off thinking to yourself, I don't want to put much filler in this, and then you get to the end of the repair and you can't even repair it with filler. You put loads of filler and you still can't get the shape right because the shape wasn't right to start with. And this is the situation that we often find ourselves in, of course. Start off with the best intentions. So let's hope the camera's focusing on that. So we've got quite a curve going on now, as you can see. And this is a very nice gentle curve, nothing too much. So I've got my panel hammer here. It's got quite a low crown on it, and this is much more curved. So I'll just show you that you can sort of do the same sort of thing with a hammer. Although I prefer the slapper, I really do prefer using that to a hammer. But I'll show you that you can use a hammer as well. So flat block, could do with a bit of a clean-up really this, but it is nice and flat. It's just got a bit of surface rust on it. So again, flat block, nice and solid. High crown hammer, so this has got a bit more of a high crown on it. I've got other hammers that are more high crowned. So have a look. I'll use this one. I'll put a bit of dish in it with this one now. So we're going from reverse now. So we're going from the inside out. So I'll put it around this side. So that'll be flat face down, high crown on the top, and that'll dish it out again this way. Should be able to see in the reflection that we've got quite a nice bit of shape now going on in that panel. I say panel because it is starting to look like a panel, isn't it, rather than just a flat sheet of metal. Now what I'll probably do now, I'll just stop and I'll perhaps just give this a bit of a polish so that you can see how, you know, how shapely it is, because we'll be able to pick up a better reflection. Also show you that although it's lots of little individual hammer marks, they all flow together quite nicely, and I won't have to work very hard at taking those out. I'll just use my adapted angle grinder with a DA disc again. So for those that have never seen my channel before, this is a variable speed angle grinder, and I've just mounted a DA disc to the end, just basically cobbled it up. It looks a right mess, but it works well and it's well balanced. I'll start with an 80 grit and I'll finish up with a 180 grit, and this will just polish the surface. Eye protection needed, guys. So sanding finished. I'm hoping that you can see that that's definitely got a nice bit of curvature going on there. Double curvature, because of course it's curved the other way as well. I've put more of a curve on that tip, or I used my hammer on the tip. Of course the width's a lot less there, so where the width's a lot less, of course the hammering is far more effective because you haven't got to move as much metal. But you can see that that's got some quite wicked shapes going on there, really, and that's only taken 10 minutes of hammering, nothing more than that. It's wobbly, of course, because I haven't really gone into finessing the repair. Had I put more blows in between and used more gentle blows, I would have just keep on ironing those sort of creases out. But I'll come back to this. Like I said in the last video, I'd like to make repair sections for cars to help you guys out and show you how you can make up things. I mean, this is just really to demonstrate a gentle curve, and that's all I wanted to do really on this video. I'll come back to this again perhaps next time round, and we'll dish it out more, so we'll put a far deeper dish into it, hopefully utilising the stump shrinker, and then I'll metal finish it afterwards, and we'll get you know, we'll get a nicer finish on it with a deeper dish. I can show you lots of other stuff, I'm sure, as well. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you got something out of that. I'm sure you did. Of course, in the next video what I'll do is I'll put a bit more shape in that panel. I'll beat it out with a blocking hammer first and give it plenty of shape, and we're trying to form something a bit more impressive, a bit more drastic looking. But I wanted to do this video, this particular one, because I know a lot of people, they do write to me and they say, I cut a piece of metal out of a sheet of steel and I've let it into my panel, and of course it's got a flat spot on it now because it doesn't replicate the curvature of the panel. Well, now you know what to do to be able to adjust the curvature of the panel, and you can make something that fits dead on rather than trying to make it out of filler. So that's been the purpose of the video. It's quite simple, straightforward, not utilising expensive equipment, and fairly straightforward once you get to grips with it. Best advice I can give is get yourself a big sheet of steel, cut it up and just go for it. Just go for it. You'll soon pick it up. You'll soon get the feel for it, and once you understand logically what's going on, you'll be able to apply that logic to change the shape of the panel to fit the panel that you're trying to replicate, because it's all different, and that's what makes it so exciting. Each job is different. Anyway, the hammer that you saw me using in the video, I'm going to give away this very hammer. The question is, I've put a gearbox in my van, a new gearbox. The old gearbox was a 3-speed column change. What is the new gearbox? How many speeds is it? Forward gears only, guys. So how many speeds is it? And answers in the comment section below, please. No emails. Just give it to the comment section, and then the winner will be drawn at random from those comments. So the winner from the last time round, let's pick a winner at random. Of course, the question the last time round was, how am I going to power my coffee machine off grid, as it were? What modifications have I made to the van to allow me to be able to do this without having to have a hookup or some kind of, you know, vast amounts, of about 5 kilowatt coffee machine in there? And of course the answer was, I fitted an LPG tank inside the van. I've made a custom locker. It goes inside the van. It's accessed through a flap at the top, so you can get to the bottle to turn it on and off, and then it's got a bayonet fitting lower down so that you can fill it up at the petrol station, which is what I wanted to do. It's an enormous project. It took ages to do, and it was probably nearly the worst part of the whole build. I don't know why it got so complex, but it really did. But because it was complicated at the time, it makes it easier, you know, for later on, because it's all going to work really nice. And of course it hasn't affected the look of the van at all. You have all the doors shut, no bottle outside, it's all contained within the van and looks really smart. So let's go and pick a winner at random. So capital G space capital G, you are the winner of this fantastic panel hammer. All you've got to do to claim your prize is send me your address. My email is in the video description. Just let me know what it is, and I'll post you this fantastic hammer at my own expense, of course. So I got a little bit of news on the old hammer front. As I said before, I wasn't going to bother selling these because it seemed to be a lot of hassle getting them off the company that I bought them off, so I just decided to give them away as prizes. However, I've been inundated with inquiries of people wanting to buy a hammer, so I thought, oh well, do you know what, I'll give it a go. So I am going to give it a go. I'm going to sell them. There is an eBay listing in the video description for a hammer. If you'd like to purchase one, then please do so. There is only a limited quantity of these. If it all goes well, then I will continue doing this. But this isn't as straightforward as it appears. It's not simply the case of buying a hammer, packaging it and send it back out, because of course it is customised by Trev. And there's a lot more to that customization than first meets the eye, because it's been, you know, the lettering's had to be bought, adhesion promoter, sanding down, and it's coated with lacquer as well afterwards to stop it from peeling off. So it's really, really hard wearing, no chance of that just falling straight off. So like I say, it's been customized. It's not straightforward. The cheapest and the easiest part is probably buying a hammer, in fact. So link in the video description to the eBay sale. I was going to do it on Depop, but I thought eBay would probably be more straightforward to people, and then that way it's all legal and above board, rather than just sending me the money, you know, posting the money into the ether. You've got some sort of contractual thing going on there. So that's why I did it through eBay. So that's that. I really would like to just say a massive thanks to all the people that helped support me with their donations, because without their donations this video wouldn't have been possible, because the tools that I bought, that I used in this video, were paid for out of the donations money. The paint polishing, the polisher I bought, was bought out of the donations money. The windscreen polishing, the pads and the polish were bought out of the donation. The dent puller was bought out of the donations. All the hammers have been bought out of the donations, so I've been able to buy these hammers and give them away. Also been able to buy the hammers I'm going to sell, and all this has been made possible through the donations that people have kindly given me. I'm just going to talk briefly about a bit of news, a few things that's going on to do with me and the channel. I've actually stepped down a couple of days at work now. I only work part-time anyway, as I've just said earlier, but I've just knocked off an extra couple of days. I still want to keep my hand in at the restoration shop because I really enjoy working there, and also it does me good to go to a different place and get away from things here for a couple of days. Sort of clicks a reset button in the old brain box and gives me something else that sort of clears my mind a bit, so it gives me a bit of thinking time, you know. So that's why I really want to stay working there. Plus they have some fantastic projects on, and I just really enjoy the inspiration I get from working there as well. So like I say, I've taken a couple of days off now. I've taken this time out to try and help get the van finished, and also put some more time into YouTube, because I have been uploading videos practically weekly for the last couple of months, and that extra time has helped. Unfortunately, the thing with YouTube is the way you get paid through the ads is very seasonal. So we're on a very downtime part of the year at the moment. So although I'm busier than ever with YouTube, the ad revenue is at its lowest. And what a lot of people have done, I know this for a fact because I talk to other YouTubers, they just stop making videos and then they continue to create content in the boom periods. So I've tried to not do that. I've tried to be consistent and keep producing videos for a couple of reasons. I want to give people something to look forward to, so I try and, you know, input something into it each week. Also, I like the fact that I'm building up a lot of videos so that I know that people like to binge watch. Loads of emails off people saying, I've just discovered you and I've sat down and I've just trawled through 30 of your videos, you know, and binge watch. So I know people like doing that. So that's another reason I keep it going, because I think, well, I'm building quite a nice portfolio of videos up that people can go back and watch. And that's another reason I keep producing the content, although it's not paying me much on the ad revenue side of things, because what I was hoping to claw a little bit out of the ad revenue and also buy some equipment with that money, but this is going to come, and I'm a patient person, so I can wait. It really isn't a problem. The other piece of news as well is people keep asking me about the plasma cutter. Now what I'm doing is I'm getting the van finished first, because where the plasma cutter was initially going to go, the space isn't quite big enough. So what I think would be the best thing to do, I've only got literally weeks of work left now, just a few weeks to get this van finally finished off. What I've got left to do is lighting, wiring, building all the handles in and everything else, and polishing the rest of the van all over and undersealing it from underneath. So I've still got a little bit left to go, but we really are on the final stages, and I'm so close. I don't want to go tearing off on a tangent that's going to take me a lot of time. I'd rather get the van finished and I can get the van out of the workshop, then I can set the plasma cutter up in the corner. And the first project I intend to do with it, although I have been asked to do a few things by a few mates. So Rory wants a few bits made for his car, because he's making a Nova track car. He's going to do some hill climbs and stuff in it, and he'd like me to make a few brackets and bits and pieces, a few personalised bits and bobs as well, because he's going to build a roll cage for it. So I'll probably be doing that. What I will most definitely be doing for the channel is I'm going to build a frame for an English wheel. So I'm going to buy an anvil kit for an English wheel, and then I'm going to build a whole frame that's going to be CNC plasma cut. So that's the first sort of project I'm going to use it for. Can't wait to get to grips with that, and it'll be a big old frame, and it'll be really interesting and make a real interesting couple of blogs. I could easily make 2 or 3 blogs out of that one, and it'll be nice to actually use it and build it myself and then use it afterwards, and I can make it look really smart as well. But in the meantime, if you want to know more about the plasma cutter, please check out Double Boost. I've mentioned him before. I'll stick a link in the video description again of his channel because I think he's well worth checking out, and they keep bringing out new stuff. So Rob, who produces the plasma cutter, keeps on inventing and expanding upon the range, and if you want to see the expansion possibilities, then Double Boost, John at Double Boost, definitely worth checking his videos out, because he started off with a 2x2 machine, he's expanded it by 4x2, and there's also extensions. He just did a video just last week where they've got like a pointer on it, like an optical pointer, so that they can mount it to the machine, and they point this pointer down at the steel and the machine knows where to go because it tracks this pointer. So that's really interesting, and I'll put a link to that video up in this video description so you can go and check that out if you're interested. Right now, like I say, I can't really answer many questions because I don't know that much about it, but when I do get cracking on it, then I'm going to show you, my progression with the tool, because my knowledge is pretty limited at the moment, as you can imagine. So once I've built my English wheel, that'll be the English wheel sorted. I've got another piece of kit rolling up next week because I've just blown the last of the donations money on a shrinker stretcher. I can't wait for it to come. Something come up and it was at the right price. It's normally a lot more money for this kind of kit. I just hope it's what I hope it's going to be when it rolls up. So I'll be showing you that next week, and because it hasn't arrived yet. What else can I say? So projects for the future. So I'll have my English wheel made with the plasma cutter. I'll have my shrinker stretcher. Hopefully that's going to be all right. So I need some kind of folding machine, some kind of cutting machine, because I don't think the plasma cutter is going to be up for just cutting straight lines in very thin stuff. I just don't know how that's going to work. So I need some kind of guillotine or something. I also need another welder as well. So and then once I've got that kit, then I can get to grips with a new project, because this is what I'd really like to do when the van is finished. I'd like to start a new project. I've got a couple of ideas up my sleeve. In fact, I've got 2 ideas, that very strong ideas, and one of them's to do with the van. So it depends how the business goes with the van. So if the business goes really well with the van and I want to expand that, then I'm thinking about building some kind of trailer. So I might build some custom bodied trailer out of aluminium, because I'd like to start working with aluminium more. I have been doing a bit of alley welding lately and working with aluminium, and it's quite a nice product to use actually, because it's so much softer, pliable and easier to work with than steel, but it has its own annoying characteristics like splitting open, and although it's more malleable, it's more brittle in other ways. It doesn't cut as nice, it doesn't grind as nice. Steel has its benefits and its limitations, and so does aluminium, of course. So that's one of the projects I might do, but if I don't do that, then I'll be leaping forward into another project that I've got my sort of brain sight set on, and I'm kind of ironing out the detail in my head on that one, and it'll be a kind of exciting build for people to watch, and I could do weekly videos so you could see the weekly progress. And of course it's going to be geared to coach work more, so it's going to give people something to look at to do with metal shaping still, and that's really what I want to stick to. This is my thing. I'm not really a mechanic. I've done mechanical stuff, but it's not really my area. What I want to do is sort of go into coach work more, so I'll definitely be more on the coach work side of things, more of the actual manufacturing panels kind of thing. The other thing as well is I'd like to make some kind of panel manufacturing press. This is another one of my inventions. I want to make a universal press where you can take a profile off a panel. So take a mold off a panel, and then I'll use composite materials to build a press, and then press that, you know, shape out into a brand new panel utilizing a press. It's something else that I've got going away in my brain box, and something that'll be interesting for people to watch, of course. So anyway, I'm finished. I better go because it's going to turn into a long video otherwise. Thanks for putting up with me. Bye for now.